Humanity's journey across the ages is, in many ways, a journey of belief. Long before cities rose from dust or empires took shape, before alphabets were carved or laws codified, the human heart sought the presence of something greater than itself. People looked to the heavens and sensed a mystery, they watched the cycle of seasons and felt an unseen order, they heard the cry of conscience and recognized a voice not their own. From these experiences grew the great religious traditions that shaped entire civilizations. Every culture has asked the same enduring questions. What is the purpose of life? What does God desire of us? What awaits the soul after death? How should we live, forgive, love, sacrifice? Though the answers take different forms, they all arise from this universal hunger for transcendence. Among the world's religions, Christianity and Islam stand as two pillars of global history, vast, ancient traditions that shaped societies, inspired art and literature, guided rulers, and formed the daily rhythm of billions. Their doctrines, ethics, and spiritual visions differ, yet both have left profound marks upon the world. But in the Catholic understanding, truth is not measured by size or influence, it is measured by the origin of revelation, the nature of God's self-disclosure, and the transformation offered to the soul. To explain this to the young, St. John Bosco, one of the Church's greatest teachers and pastors, wrote The Educated Catholic in His Religion, in which a wise father patiently instructs his children. The father does not condemn, ridicule, or speak with anger. Instead, he explains, clarifies, and guides, helping the young see why Christianity, in the Catholic view, stands uniquely as the fullness of divine truth. His method is simple yet profound. He begins not by criticizing other religions, but by illuminating the beauty, coherence, and endurance of the Catholic Church. Only after that foundation is laid does he compare Christianity with other faiths, not to mock them, but to sharpen understanding, to show contrast, and to reveal what makes the gospel distinct. The Church, a living miracle across time. The Father begins by asking his children to consider history itself. Kingdoms rise and fall, armies conquer and collapse, philosophies shine for a moment and fade. Yet across 2,000 years, through persecutions, plagues, wars, schisms, revolutions, and the rise and fall of entire civilizations, the Catholic Church has continued, not unchanged, but unbroken, not untouched by suffering, but undefeated in purpose. He tells his children, look at the world's great empires, the Egyptian, the Babylonian, the Persian, the Greek, the Roman. They shaped continents for centuries, yet all collapsed into ruin. Their gods vanished with their temples. Their laws linger only in stone fragments. But the Church, born in humility, armed with no armies, possessing no treasure but the truth, has endured. He invites them to imagine the Church during the early centuries, a small community persecuted by emperors, accused of treason, hunted like criminals. And yet its faith spread not through force, but through the astonishing witness of martyrs, men, women, and children who met death with peace and forgiveness, converting even their executioners. What human institution, he asks, could transform suffering into victory? He then speaks of the Middle Ages, when the Church preserved learning through monasteries, renewed Europe after barbarian invasions, inspired art and architecture, and created the first universities. He speaks of saints who reformed society not by violence but by holiness, Benedict, Francis, Dominic, Clare, Thomas Aquinas, Catherine of Siena. He continues through the Renaissance, the Reformation, the Enlightenment, revolutions, and modern secularism. Through every age, the Church faced powerful opposition, yet she survived, sometimes scarred, sometimes purified, always guided by the same gospel. This endurance, he tells his children, cannot be explained by politics or human genius. No organization ruled by flawed men could endure so flawlessly, nor rise again after every fall, unless its foundation were divine. 2. The Father's approach to other religions. Only after establishing the Church's divine identity does the Father begin to speak of other religions, Judaism, Islam, and the various Christian communities that separated from Rome. His tone remains calm and thoughtful. He praises the ethical depth of Judaism, the strength and unity fostered by Islam, the spiritual sincerity found in many traditions. But he invites his children to consider deeper questions. Where does revelation come from? What image of God does a religion present? What path does it offer to holiness? What kind of person does it form? To the Catholic educator, these questions are not academic, they shape the destiny of the soul. 3. Islam in its historical context. When the Father speaks of Islam, he does so historically and theologically, not angrily or aggressively. He explains that Islam emerged in Arabia in the 7th century, a land fragmented by tribal conflicts, commercial rivalries, and diverse religious influences. Jews, Christians, pagans, and monotheists lived side by side. Into this landscape came the teachings that formed the Muslim community, the oneness of God, the importance of submission to divine law, the establishment of social order, charity, and ritual practices. He explains to his children that Islam became not only a religion, but a civilizational force. Its early followers unified Arabia, built empires, advanced mathematics, preserved Greek philosophy, cultivated literature, and contributed to astronomy and medicine. It shaped cultures from Spain to India. Yet, he says, Christianity's claim is of a different nature. Christianity does not simply teach moral law or social order, it proposes a divine person, Jesus Christ, whose life, death, and resurrection reveal God not only as sovereign, but as Father, as love, as the one who enters into human suffering and transforms it from within. The Father emphasizes that comparisons must be fair and thoughtful. Islam emphasizes obedience to God's revealed will. Christianity emphasizes a relationship of love with God's incarnate Son. Islam builds strong communities through unity and discipline. Christianity builds saints through interior transformation and grace. These distinctions matter, not because one seeks hostility, but because understanding differences clarifies one's own faith. 4. The uniqueness of Christ. The Father then leads his children to the heart of Christianity, Jesus Christ. Christianity rises or falls on Christ himself, he says. Not on its institutions, not on its art, not on its moral codes, though all of these flow from him. Christ is the center. He describes Christ's life. His compassion, healing lepers, welcoming sinners, embracing the poor. His teachings, love of enemies, forgiveness without limit, humility as greatness. His miracles, not displays of power for their own sake, but acts of mercy. His sacrifice, choosing the cross out of love for humanity. His resurrection, the victory that confirms his divine identity. In the Father's eyes, the difference between Christianity and every other religion lies here. Christianity presents not merely teachings about God, but God himself entering history. The gospel does not simply instruct, it reveals. It does not command from beyond, it transforms from within. The saints, living testimony to the gospel. To illuminate the gospel's power, the Father recounts the lives of saints. Saint Francis of Assisi, who embraced radical poverty to imitate Christ's humility. Saint Therese of Lisieux, who found holiness in small acts of love. Saint Damien of Molokai, who served lepers until he became one of them. Saint Maximilian Kolbe, who gave his life for another prisoner in Auschwitz. Saint Mother Teresa, who saw Christ in the poorest of the poor. These lives, he tells his children, are the greatest proofs of Christianity. For holiness cannot be manufactured by force or fear. It is born from love. 6. Failures of Christians and the purifying light of truth. The Father does not hide the failures of Christians. Crusades distorted by politics. Wars justified by religion. Corruption within clergy. Injustices committed in the name of God. He admits these honestly, explaining that sin does not invalidate revelation. The Church is holy because of Christ, not because of those who fail him. Her continuity is a miracle precisely because she has survived the shortcomings of her own children. 7. Discernment, choosing truth in a world of voices. The Father teaches that the modern world overwhelms the soul with competing ideologies, materialism, relativism, nationalism, philosophies that deny the spiritual nature of man or promise meaning without sacrifice. Amid so many voices, the greatest challenge is not hostility to faith but confusion. Not every path leads to God, he warns gently. Only one path reveals God as he truly is, the path of Christ, the path of love. He explains that Christianity invites, not compels, proposes, not imposes. True faith must be freely chosen. 8. The final appeal of the Father. At the conclusion of the dialogue, the Father's voice softens. He is no longer teaching, but pleading with the quiet love of a parent. My children, he says, the world will offer you many kingdoms. Some will promise power, some comfort, some certainty. But Christ offers something greater than all, freedom of heart, forgiveness of sins, and a love that conquers death. He invites them to contemplate two ways. One rooted in fear. The other in love. One built on human strength. The other on divine grace. One focused on external obedience. The other on the transformation of the heart. Then he gives them the words that echo through the generations. Choose, my children, the kingdom you will serve. For every soul must decide, freely, consciously, lovingly. X. The enduring light of the Church. The Father concludes with a vision of the Church across time. A ship carrying humanity through storms. A hospital for the wounded. A school for the ignorant. A refuge for the weary. A lighthouse shining across centuries. He explains that her survival is not a coincidence or merely a cultural inheritance. It is a sign. A testimony. A living miracle of endurance and love. The Church's victory is not conquest, it is patience. Her weapon is not force, it is mercy. Her identity is not cultural, it is divine. Her mission is not domination, it is salvation. Through all ages, she carries the same message. God is love. Christ is risen. And the human heart was made for him.